why things don't happen. When you understand why something works and something doesn't work, you can understand and make a choice then on whether you want to do it or not, and what to do to act upon it or not. Perception. We've already discussed this briefly as we went through. Creating a perception. Social media, all it is a perception. And you can dictate that perception. Consistency, clear and obvious. As we talked about, looking down your feed, you want to be as consistent as possible. Your energy, you want to be as consistent as possible. Being organic. The first and most fundamental thing we have to be is organic. Because again, that allows us to provide longevity, and we're going to discuss all of these as we move through. Community and tactics. Again, we're going to be discussing all of these guys as we move through today. So all of these processes, as we said, are intertwined. Purpose, market, content, posting, communication, and then repeating relentlessly. They're all intertwined, and they actually enhance each other when they are prepared appropriately. And so the things we're talking about, the breakdown of the process, is what we're talking about is the preparation for the process. As we said, understanding is a raw form of preparation. So we want to understand how these processes are working, how to enhance them using preparation. So we want to be as prepared as possible. Maintaining with and on purpose at all times. This dictates your view and approach to the rest of the processes. Working with and on purpose. So your market dictates your supply, so your posting and your content. So your communication allows an organic market and content creation based off of your purpose to grow by growing the community that supports. So, realistic goals. So we're working by a vision rather than a set goal. But we need to make sure that vision is realistic, as we were saying, because we want to build confidence. We never want to be demoralized. We always want to be able to make sure it's something that is achievable for us, and we continually meet achievable visions so we grow organically. So every time we're approaching our vision, so we don't want to get to our vision and then have to think what's next, because then we're not going to grow organically, we're not going to develop organically, because we're having to keep stopping and thinking about what we want to do. Every time we approach our goal, every time we approach our vision, so every time we approach our vision, we want to stop and think, then be prepared and think, what's next? Where are we going after we achieve this vision? How are we going to develop from there? So that we always maintain the next vision, building an endless path to success. One of the things in meeting a realistic goal is realizing how things are actually achieved. So we need to realize that a big community always begins with a little community. It always begins with a small community. Realizing that in the shop, in the barber shop, being fully booked for a full month begins by being fully booked for 2 weeks. Being fully booked for 2 weeks begins by being fully booked for 1 week. Being fully booked for 1 week begins by being fully booked for a day. Realizing that everything, if you break it down smaller, think about it smaller, everything begins small. No matter where you are and you think you're not doing enough, everybody that you're looking up to began below you. So you're already on the way there, but just maintain those visions. Remember that 100,000 followers begins with 10,000 followers. 10,000 begins with 1,000. 1,000 begins with 100. 100 begins with 1. Your community will grow organically as long as you yourself are organic. Whatever your purpose, whatever your vision, you cannot begin to imagine a million of it if you haven't achieved every number that goes before it. And every number that goes before it is equally as important. Number 1 is equally as important as number 1 million. Because without number 1, we wouldn't have number 2. Without number 2, we wouldn't have number 3. And so on. Your energy, your quality, and your relentlessness provide the value for your organic growth. Again, your organic growth is based off of the value you can give to others. Being relentless. This is the absolute key to being successful. Of course, you need passion and discipline, as we've always talked about. Passion to walk down your path. Discipline to keep your eyes open as you go. But relentlessness to keep up the passion and discipline at every single point. Relentlessness to work over and over and over and over. Relentlessness to keep it going, to keep the energy going, and to keep going with your passion and discipline. What we talked briefly about earlier, a lot of people have one post that blows up and goes viral, have a post every now and again that blows up and goes viral, but it is very, very rare that we see people who can go viral, who can blow up, who can have posts that are of certain quality, that have certain impact every single time, and can do this consistently. And that is what I mean by being relentless. Same goes for communication. A lot of people could spend an hour communicating with people, could spend a day communicating with people, could spend a week doing a bit more communication than normal. But not many people would want to allow themselves to respond to messages at any time of any day, all year, every year. Again, being relentless in every single thing you do. I cannot stress to you enough, guys. Every single thing you post, every single thing you do should be as good as, if not better than, what you've already done. Because it's that perception. You are then giving a perception of growth to the world. You are showing the world that you don't ever settle, you don't ever plateau, you don't ever just be consistent at one thing. You're continually growing and enhancing. Whether it's simply an enhancement of more of a psychology and energy, if it's an enhancement on cutting, if it's something new and creative, whatever it is, you are showing growth. And this all the time comes from self-study. Self-study is the greatest and most powerful driving force behind growth ever. Straight, period. Self-study is the strongest and most powerful driving force behind growth. It is essential. Self-study in every single thing you do. Being able to understand every single thing you do, could do, would do, should do. Understand why not. Because this helps you to understand and build a true purpose. Allowing your short-term visions to be a natural progression. One of the key elements to understanding how to go through self-study is study yourself from another's point of view. Again, always thinking like the consumer. In this instance, for social media growth, you want to think and study yourself as if you are somebody viewing your page. Understand what response would you get off of the energy of that post that you just posted. Understand what would you get from that. Understand what would you get when you look at that photo of that haircut. Look at it from somebody else's point of view. Because when you do that, you see the positives and you see the negatives. When you look at things from your own point of view all of the time, and you limit yourself to only your own point of view, you only usually focus on the negatives and what's not good enough. When you look at someone else's work, you always see the negatives and the positives. So look at it as if you're somebody else looking in, and look at what's positive, look at what's negative, look at what you can work on, look at what you need to enhance. Again, focusing on understanding what you're good at and what you're not so good at. And on social media, you want to focus on enhancing the perception and building that perception as high as you can of the things you're good at. Because what you want to do is, with that perception, you want to understand how everything you're doing is being perceived. Because if you can understand how it's perceived, you can change it and enhance it to make it be perceived better and make it be received better, allowing yourself potentially for more growth. Making sure that you're understanding that people will want to share it, that you're going to ignite the passion inside of them. One of the most important things I ever do is, my phone has a whole list of inspirational quotes that I just think of in my head. I just think of them, but you don't have to just think of them, research them if you want to. Personally, I just sit there and think about things that help me to understand what I want to do, and help me to understand life, and help me to understand absolutely every aspect of what I've built up to this point. Understanding the mentality that's gone behind it, the mindset and psychology short course we're going to be going through too. That will help a lot. But have these things written down, because I know that when I post these, when people read them, it's going to ignite their fire. It's going to help reignite their fire, maintain the fire in their belly and keep them inspired. Meaning that when people are looking at my page, looking at the social media, whether it be a post of a haircut, whether it be a story with a quote, whatever it may be, whenever I put anything up, it's going to help keep them on their path to their vision. And that's what it's about. Understanding the value you give to them. And you can understand that if you view it like you are them. Thinking like the consumer can again help you to understand when to post. Think about it. When are you normally on your phone? When you understand when you're normally on your phone, you understand when they're normally going to be on their phone. Understand when you're normally on your phone, when your family's normally on their phone, when your friends are normally on their phone. Take time to just think about it logically. When are people on their phone? Okay, I'm going to post then. Simple. What day are people most likely to not be on their phone? Okay, don't post then. Simple. True understanding. So, self-study builds a true understanding, and we want to be able to understand truly every single aspect of what we do, every single aspect of what we could be doing, and every single aspect of what we shouldn't be doing. When we understand these, we know how to act, and we can act on purpose. Again, we have our with purpose, we're acting with purpose, we have our reasoning why, and then that understanding allows us to be prepared so we can act on purpose. As we always say, understanding is the rawest form of preparation. So that self-study gives us the understanding, which gives us preparation so that we know how to act. Understand your purpose. understand your market, understand the content and how it's received, understand your posts and how they're received, understand your community, understand it by communicating with them, understand every single aspect of social media, understand every single aspect of anything you ever do, and you are in complete control. The same philosophies we have with our cutting hair. We want to be in complete control. When you understand it truly, you are in control. Perception. So we want to understand, continue to understand the perception that we're giving to other people. Because this perception is what controls the demand for more. If the perception you're creating isn't a good one, people aren't going to want to be involved. The demand is going to deplete. There's not going to be any more demand for what you're putting out. So you need to make sure all of the time that the perception you create of yourself is completely positive, is of growth, is of quality, is of motivation, is of passion, is of discipline. If you have the perception of these things, more of it's going to happen. You need to understand that the perception you create allows you to do more of the things you want to do. Think about it logically. Our mindset when we first start cutting hair, is to create the perception that we can cut hair in the first place. We want to create the perception that we can cut hair so we can cut more hair. We're out there convincing the whole world we can cut hair. Hey bro, let me cut your hair. I'm practicing, I'm really good now, I'll be able to do it. So he lets you cut your hair. But that mindset, for some reason, seems to go away as we move through our career. People seem to want to get to a level, and once they're there, they're happy. But again, you need to remember there's always a next level. There's always something else you could do. Whether it's something else to do with the cutting, whether it's just a diversification of what you want to do. And you can move into a different realm of the industry, a slightly different purpose. Understand the perception you give enables demand. With education, the only reason I ever got more bookings for education was because I had bookings in the first place. And I was posting about them. And that's the thing, when people see you doing something, they presume you do it. I was posting pictures of me teaching, pictures of me educating, pictures of me travelling, stories of me doing all of these things. So people who didn't know me and were just viewing my page for the first time were presuming I'd been doing them for years. Because the energy I was giving out was, I know what I'm doing this, this is me, I am doing this myself. The perception was that I was an educator. At the start, I wasn't an educator, I would never have claimed to be. Never posted that I was. My bio did not say educator, but I was doing so much education, getting asked to do it. And when I was posting about it, people were asking for more and more and more. The more they got posted, the more they got asked, then became the demand to be an educator. And it was quite clear the demand was there, so then I naturally evolved into an educator. I started by building clients. I naturally evolved into a shop. Naturally kept evolving into better shops, into better opportunities, naturally evolved into an educator. That naturally evolved into touring. That naturally evolved into an online academy. Naturally evolved into building a team. And you can see everything is naturally evolving because of the perception that I'm creating. The perception at first was I was trying to cut hair and build clients. The perception then was that I was getting better. Then the perception was that I was focusing on being creative. Then the creativity got me noticed. That perception then changed from just being creative to teaching. That perception then got me more teaching. Whatever you're trying to create, you have to do it in the first place. You have to create a perception that you do it in the first place. If you want to cut more longer hair, you need to create the perception that you cut long hair. If you want to do more creative haircuts, you need to create the perception that you do more creative haircuts. If you want more creative work, put creative work on your page so there's a perception that you do it in the first place. Because when people are looking who does creative haircuts, if there's loads of creative haircuts on your page, they think it's you. They think it's you. Don't get me wrong, all day every day I'm working in the shop with my clients, I'm not doing creative haircuts. But the perception I created, I never posted normal haircuts, I just posted creative haircuts for a long period of time. Which built the perception that I only did creative haircuts, meaning that when people wanted me to go and showcase my work, they wanted me to do creative haircuts. And that then developed and developed and developed. But as I built the demand for that, I diversified into wanting to showcase my curriculum, how I cut hair, the actual way I go about cutting hair and building to true education. And I went from showcasing to education. But I went from showcasing to education because instead of just posting the creative haircuts I was doing, I was now posting snippets and elements of me actually teaching and teaching the curriculum, teaching the psychology. So then I was building a demand for psychology and curriculum, which then led into everything we see today and naturally evolved. And I'm hoping you understand what I'm trying to get at. Perception precedes reputation. The perception you create precedes the reputation